sport has the power to change the world.
Episode 8 of The Power of Sport is here, and we've drawn on world champion quality for your listening pleasure. A big welcome from me, Jean Smyth, your host, and the rest of the team. We're in for a real treat in this episode. This podcast, of course, brought to you by Laureus South Africa. But you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and download the series via iTunes and Omni Radio. So coming up in this episode then, South Africa's Sevens rugby team swept all before them, being crowned World Series champions for a second time. And much has been made of the bond within that team, and in achieving that success, here's stalwart Carl Brown, forthright as ever.
And everybody wants to talk to us now about our team culture, something that happened overnight, and it just our team culture just formed, and it was great, which is a lot of nonsense, and it didn't just happen overnight, and it didn't just happen this season.
The Mercedes-Benz series of sporting-themed breakfasts have come to an end, finishing in fine style in Cape Town ahead of the Springboks taking on the All Blacks. One of rugby's great voices, Grant Nisbet, warned us that things would be close at Newlands despite the 57-0 annihilation in Albany.
And these things go in cycles. There was a time when the Springboks were quite dominant. There was a time where we simply couldn't win Test series in South Africa. And it wasn't until 1996 that we were able to change that.
A giant of the cricketing world is confirmed as a new Laureus ambassador, a man known for his ability to destroy bowling attacks across the world, but also for his work off the field, inspiring millions.
Hi, my name is Yuvraj Singh. I'm at the Cooperage football ground, and I've been announced the Laureus ambassador for India. It's a huge honor to be same place as the Indian cricketing legends, as Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, Kapil Dev. Honestly, it's a huge honor to join the Laureus family.
Luvo Manyonga and the longest hole among the inspirational sporting moments that you can vote for ahead of the Laureus World Sports Awards. So do get those votes in, as you could see them at the most glamorous events of them all, which has just been confirmed being hosted in
Good evening and welcome to the Laureus World Sports Awards 2017.
We are thrilled to welcome the Laureus Awards ceremony back to Monaco.
Yes, it's back to Monaco we go, and we simply cannot wait to return. And instead of me up against a guest, we turn the Blitzboks on one another as we play Blitz on camera. Phillip Snyman, Carl Brown and Coach Neil Powell go head to head.
Hilux or Ranger?
Oh, let's call it Hilux.
Charlize or Mila Kunis?
Mila Kunis.
Your wife's a blonde, huh?
I know, yeah.
Okay, just check that.
It's action-packed and filled with unique insights. You're listening to the Power of Sport podcast. Welcome to the show. Well, this year, Mercedes-Benz and Laureus South Africa continued their series of sporting-themed breakfasts held at dealerships across the country. Sports covered included all things golf ahead of the Open Championship, women in sport, the surfing world in East London, a powerful football lineup in Centurion, the inspiring story of the Soweto Canoe and Recreation Club, and the Beyond the River movie. And it all culminated in Cape Town ahead of the Springboks taking on the seemingly invincible All Blacks at Newlands. All, of course, in conjunction with highlighting the role that the various projects supported by Laureus play in their respective communities. Once again, the series has been deemed a huge success. Manager of Corporate Affairs Production at Mercedes-Benz, Feliciano Yannicka, and Chairman of Laureus South Africa, Mr. Morne du Plessis.
Well, first I want to say it is a huge pity that it's the last one for the year. But we're better than to have it here in beautiful Cape, a wonderful day. A couple of days before hopefully the Springboks beat the All Blacks. It's been a nice series of breakfasts. Fantastic opportunity for the projects to come together and to showcase what they do. I like what the one panelist said. It's not about competing, it's showcasing what each project does, the strengths of each project, and it's really brilliant as Mercedes-Benz to be part of it. Just knowing that you can make an impact in the community, not just changing individual lives, but changing communities, and that's the beauty of it.
Every breakfast I go to, I say this has been the best breakfast. It's amazing. I wasn't in the East London breakfast last week, but I've been told that the spirit of that breakfast was incredible. It was the Waste for Change team. Today we had a surfing theme. Today we had a rugby theme, obviously with the excitement of the test match in Cape Town. It always builds up the spirit of the event, and to have the panel as we did with the New Zealand commentators, just to bring that element of foreign touch and also All Black support into it with Jean, ex-captain, Springbok captain, recent. It really was. And then, of course, the development panel, as we call it, was inspiring. I sit there and I'm inspired by those people that are out there working. Today was Cool Play and Zip Zap Circus. And you just, as Ryk Neethling said in one of our comments that we saw today, he goes to the program, he feels a bit guilty because he's supposed to be giving and he goes away with so much. And it's almost what you feel today. You just are so motivated by these people that are at the rock face of what we do.
Well, in the build-up to that match, Laureus held a number of functions, including an activation at the V&A waterfront, together with the Springboks, Zip Zap and Box Girls that was incredibly well received. It was a precursor to an incredible battle at Newlands that saw the Springboks edged by a single point that restored the faith in many quarters among local fans after a torrid 18 months or so. Ahead of the match, former Bok flyer Tondra Shavanga spent time imparting his knowledge, while a man who's called in excess of 200 test matches, the voice of rugby in New Zealand, Grant Nisbet, perhaps foresaw what was to come.
Yeah, well, certainly yesterday was just great to see the kids interacting with the Springboks and seeing the smiles on their faces. They absolutely loved the interaction, and I think it's just a great testimony to what sport can do. I mean, even if you take away the Springboks, the fact that they're playing around with a ball or doing some kind of activity, it just brings so much joy to them, and it's great to see all the initiatives that people under the banner of Laureus and on their own are doing to make this world a better place through sport.
Finally, just a word on yourself and your future ambitions in terms of changing that sporting landscape and getting youngsters into rugby. Yeah, well, the MP7 projects our main objective is to get kids into rugby through animation. I think there's millions of kids that haven't had any interaction with rugby, and I think it's a great way of introducing the sport. Grant, the recent history between the Springboks and the All Blacks obviously heavily favours world champion All Blacks at the moment. Is that rivalry still as real as ever?
Well, certainly from a New Zealander's point of view it is, absolutely. And these things go in cycles. There was a time when the Springboks were quite dominant. There was a time where we simply couldn't win test series in South Africa. And it wasn't until 1996 that we were able to change that. So I think from an All Blacks point of view, the ultimate is playing against the Springboks. Sure, we probably play against the Wallabies more often. We go on our northern tour in November every year, but I think the rivalry between the All Blacks playing at home and away against the Springboks is as strong now as it ever has been.
Well, the Power of Sport podcast has, during the course of the year, run its Blitz feature that's seen us quiz the likes of Jacques Callis, Princess Charlene of Monaco, Graham Smyth, Daley Thompson, Ryk Neethling, and Lucas Radebe, among others. In episode 8, we've changed things up again as we bring you Blitz with the Blitzboks. Coach Neil Powell, Captain Phillip Snyman, and Carl Brown got the chance to put one another on the spot out in Stellenbosch. Rather illuminating, it must be said.
This is going to be interesting. Yes, no answers, huh?
You ready?
I'm ready.
Playing or coaching?
Ooh, probably playing.
Stellenbosch or Vrystaat?
Stellenbosch.
2 kids or 3?
Whoa, 2.
Hilux or Ranger?
Oh, let's call it Hilux.
Charlize or Mila Kunis?
Mila Kunis.
Your wife's a blonde, huh?
I know, yeah.
Okay, check that. Beef or lamb?
Whoa, that's a tough one. Let's go beef.
Swim or run?
Neither. Probably run. Definitely run.
Not too fast though.
No.
Okay, can I fire? Jeans or shorts?
Shorts.
Eating out or braai?
Braai.
Best coffee, Sydney or Vancouver?
Sydney.
Cell phone or television?
Cell phone.
Chilling or exploring?
Exploring.
Funniest guy, Chris or Roscoe?
Chris.
Philly, right? Yes. There we go. Okay, Philly. Farm life or city life?
Farm life.
Okay, seeing that you're a farmer now, John Deere or Mr. Ferguson?
Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Watching cricket or watching tennis?
Cricket.
All right. Opera or ballet?
Opera.
Whoa, that's deep. Okay, Volkswagen or Toyota?
Toyota.
Okay, bush holiday or sea holiday?
Bush holiday.
All right, and seeing that your first born is on its way, Emily or Olivia?
Careful. Olivia, Emily or Grace?
In October, a man who achieved one of cricket's rarest feats was announced as the Laureus ambassador in India. Yuvraj Singh, instrumental in a World 2020 victory, as well as the World Cup on home soil in 2011, forever famous for his unique feat of striking 6 sixes in a single over against England, the only man ever to do so between 2 test-playing nations. But perhaps his greatest achievement and resultant comeback, beating cancer and making a full return to the sport. UV, as he's affectionately known, telling Laureus TV just how delighted he was to now be part of the family.
Well, it's a huge honor, being in the name of the legends. Just to be alongside them and doing good work for the country feels really good and honored. To do good work, you need good people, and I think Mercedes is a big name everywhere in the world, especially in India. So I'm sure joining hands with Laureus is going to make a huge difference, getting out the best of children and doing good for sport.
While many sports teams in South Africa face numerous challenges, many are their own making and others of perception, there seems to be one outfit in the country that's won universal acceptance. The South African Sevens rugby team, the Blitzboks, are seemingly in every way a team of the people. A team whose unity and humility, coupled with outstanding performance, saw them crowned World Series champions in May. They won 5 of the 10 tournaments to capture only their second ever World Series title, while also winning bronze at the Olympic Games in Rio de Janeiro, while Siabelo Sinatla was crowned as the world's best sevens player. The squad's based at the Stellenbosch Academy of Sport, and I travelled to meet with Coach Neil Powell in his office, joined by Captain Phillip Snyman and Carl Brown, who had missed the final stages of the season due to injury. Much has been made about the unique culture in the team and how that drove success, and I started by asking elder statesman Brown about that, who pounced quicker on the point than Sinatla on a turnover.
Yeah, so we chatted a bit before it, and I've done like a couple talks in the last couple of weeks, and everybody wants to talk to us now about our team culture. Something that happened overnight, and it just our team culture just formed, and it was great, which is a lot of nonsense, and it didn't just happen overnight, and it didn't just happen this season. Now everybody wants to figure out, how do we emulate what they're doing to make our players look as happy as our guys do on the field? In all honesty, we start with a good bunch of people. We help them enjoy themselves on the field and make sure that they're hungry when they try to get onto the field. The difference for me this year was the maturity of the group. I felt like 4 years ago when Werner and Justin Geduld and Cheslin and Siabelo and Kwagga joined, they were 20 years old, and we've given them 3-4 years to produce, and they are now the young guys in our team, but they're guys that have 30 tournaments behind their name, which is what a hell of a position to be in. Your young players are either 2 of the best RB sevens players in the world in the last 2 years, and one's playing fullback for the Stormers, and one's shining like a superstar at the Lions on the flank. So these are our young players that we're dealing with. So what that enables the older guys to do is not have to focus on the young guys, not have to worry about their mental state going into the game, going to the tournament, and just allows them to be free and play the game that they want to play. So I think for me the difference was the maturity of the general squad.
Resonates with you, Philip?
Yes, definitely. And like Carl said, it's like something that's coming for the last 4 or 5 seasons, and it's not only the squad that's been involved with this season or the 17 guys on tour. It's a massive squad effort. We have an academy running in Stellenbosch, and they don't always get the rewards or get the pat on the shoulder for doing the hard work. One thing that I can say, I think the only thing that I actually that we have changed is that we're not going to shy behind any excuses this year. The one thing we want to win the World Series, and we're going to put it in the open air so we can hold each other accountable for that. And so for me, that's the only thing that we've changed from previous years to this year.
Neil, I didn't see many Olympians step off a podium having won a bronze medal look perhaps quite as disappointed as I saw your squad out in Rio. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I know that the ambition of the team was obviously to win the tournament, as it is every tournament. I remember, I think it was Australia that you guys lost to in the pool stages, if I'm correct. And I asked you at the time, after that match, about the inconsistency in performance, and I remember you said that it was a concern for you. How much did the Rio experience from a performance point of view and what happened there, did that play an enormous role in the eventual success of the season?
Yeah, not just the Rio tournament. I think every single tournament that we play, and you still learn and get wiser after every tournament. I think if you stop learning as a coach and as players, then you're actually going backwards. So it's really important that you learn something from every single tournament that you take part in, whether you win or lose. Obviously, a little bit more difficult to take something out of a winning tournament, but when you lose, you often get a lesson or two that you can take from that tournament that will hopefully help you in the future. Rightfully disappointed in the colour that we got at the Olympics, but very thankful for the medallion that we got. And still a great achievement if you think about it. Not Australia, not New Zealand, not anybody could win a medal at the Olympics, and we still managed to win that bronze medal. We definitely do set our standards for ourselves in the system, and we would have loved to put ourselves in that final and at least compete for that gold medal. But unfortunately, that game that we played against Great Britain wasn't good enough. It was par below par, and if you play like that at that stage of any competition, you're definitely not going to be successful. But yes, I think Rio was one of the factors that we came out in this World Series and said we want to win the World Series. We're tired of getting second and we're tired of getting third in a once-off tournament, and we really want to go all the way this season because we've been second 3 times in a row now, and really wanted to make that final step and be the number 1 team in the world after this series.
I suppose a few people might ask if England/Great Britain were a bit of a bogey side or are a bit of a bogey side for you guys.
Yeah, well, if you look at the record, they are. I think we played them 7 times, we lost 5, drew 1, and then won 1-1. So they are a bit of a bogey side for us at this stage, and something that we need to have a look at for the next season, and make sure that when we come up against them, we've got a solid plan to try and beat them. I think the one game that we really beat them was in Sydney in the final. We beat them 29-14, and I think the main focus was for that game was just us, what we need to do in that game, and I think it made us successful. So you get those teams. I think we were a team for Fiji last year. They were the World Series, but every time we got up against them, we beat them, and that's why we badly wanted to play them in that final, because we felt like we did have a bit of an edge over them. Not that we're saying we would have beat them in a final in the Olympics, but we fancied our chances every time we played against Fiji, because we had that record against Fiji last year where we probably played them also 6 or 7 times, beat them 5 or 6 times, and they only beat us once or twice. So you get those bogey teams and sometimes it will be a lesser team like a Japan or a Portugal in the past used to beat us, or we used to struggle against them. So you get those teams every once in a while that become your bogey team.
Philip, I'm going to jump to you now just in terms of the middleman, and the reason why I say that is because potentially we're looking at from a playing perspective, the team is always team's in a state of flux. I don't mean that negatively, but there's good experience in the squad, there's lots of youngsters, as Carl's just referenced. Neil obviously had enormous success as a player, great success now as a coach. Carl, you've been in the system for a long time, and certainly in terms of the handover, and dare I say it might be in the twilight of your career, and Philip, I suppose you've got a long career ahead of yourself. Just how important is that process, and how bright is the future for the Blitzboks?
I think we have a very well-balanced squad at the moment, and not only senior players and up-and-coming superstars or speed on the outside and guys doing the hard yards, but throughout the whole system. Like I said, we have an academy running, and they are doing phenomenal work of scouting players and develop those players to be the next superstars, and then also the type of player that coming into the system and fit in so nicely. Everybody wants to pick up the flag and just keep on running, and I think that's part of our team culture. You need to fit in, otherwise you're not going to make it in this team. So I think the future for Springbok Sevens is bright, and we want to keep on getting better. I think we can't stop now and think, listen, we're on top of the world, because we will get knocked over and stumble. So we want to be better every single year, every single time, and even after every single training session, and that's our motto in this team. We'll do some hard work in this off season. Like you said, 1 or 2 things that we can change is maybe we want to put that behind us, that England will be our bogey team. We want to correct that, and we want to dominate the season or the next season again. So there's a lot of youngsters coming through, 1 or 2 older guys moving on, leaving the system. So there's big shoes to fill in the next couple of years, but there's more guys that's capable of doing that job. So the future of Springbok Sevens, I think, is bright.
Carl, I hear you on team culture, and I think your point is important and well made. But it is undeniable, of course, that the Blitzboks, in many respects, in the country that we live in at the moment, are seen as a team that does a lot for social cohesion in this country from a sporting perspective. Is that something that the team is hyper aware of, that you guys take on your shoulders from a responsibility?
So the impact on social cohesion and the diversity amongst the people in South Africa, I think that's something we're very well aware of. So where we have started our process, and we continue to begin every time we start our process again, is almost get rid of the hierarchy. We don't really have a hierarchy system, because I think that creates too many barriers for integration. I think if you're going to have a system where you have an elite couple at the top and you have these guys at the bottom, and there's a different level of respect between the two, so we try to create mutual respect between everybody and a greater integration. And the moment we can do that, you can get a bond quicker. If you're going to have that separation, it's going to take too long for guys to bond, and my respect will be based on his performance, and if he doesn't perform very well, then it's a problem. So we learn to respect each other as people off the field, and we try to create that as our barrier of entry. If you're a person of poor character, you're probably not going to hang around for very long around here. What we do is we look after players that are just good people, really, like good people with good values, and we have a set of values as a team, and we try to find players that match those set of values as close as possible. I don't think it's very seldom going to be possible finding somebody who exactly matches it. But like Phillip was saying, we work incredibly hard to get the youngsters in and work them through the academy, but I think we also have to respect that it's all a sense of timing. If the season is like it was this season, you have the opportunity to play youngsters, and you have the opportunity to throw them in the deep end, and where things are going well. If things are tougher, it's very difficult to take somebody who's brand new, and there's often situations where we'll go up 17-7 against somebody, and then I can imagine everybody shouting, get the youngsters on, get the youngsters. It's not possible. It's a team that's got the capability of scoring 20 points in 5 minutes, and now you want to play somebody, throw him in the deep end, and not only will you make him struggle in that situation, but you'll probably break his confidence for the rest of the tournament. So it's such a fine balancing act, And I think that's what the guys did so well this year, was they put themselves in such great situations quite often that they were able to put the new guys on. Like we were talking about the academy, it's a very difficult system for them, because regardless of who they get in that year, they might be very quality individuals. If the environment is not right for them to be played at that time, the kid is going to feel like he's not making any progression here. And these days, young guys don't wait around a year, 2 years to be played. They wait 6 months, maybe. If I'm not getting played, they start looking. Who's looking for me? Who wants to buy me? So it's a tough situation for us to be in. It's a tough situation to keep making sure. You were talking about the outlook for the Blitzboks in the years to come. And it's something that we're very aware of, to make sure that the rollover system, that we keep feeding players in, to make sure that there's quality individuals, quality players coming in through the system for the next couple of years. It's a very fine balancing act. And I think if Phillip and the starting 7 guys can keep creating that platform to allow the young guys to come on, then there's going to be a lot of those guys around.
Is there a magic mix here, Neil, that you've struck upon?
Maybe there is, but I don't think that's something that we're aware of. I think it's standard for us how we select our teams. It's standard for us for what we're looking for in different individuals or different positions in our team. But I think maybe the dreadlock guys is the magic formula. I don't know.
Spec Magic.
Spec Magic and Justin Geduld and Cecil and those guys, Sebello. They're obviously making some magic in a team and quality individuals. And I think that what makes them so special is the fact that even though they're good in attack, they can make their tackles in defense as well, and they're good in contact. But again, I think it's a team effort. It's always been a team effort. I think the culture is something that's really special to this team. A lot of guys that come from 15 into the system and go back to 15s always talk about the culture here and how special it was to be part of this system, even if it was only for a while, for 4 months or 2 months or whatever it is. And I think that the fact that we could manage and keep our momentum and keep our consistency, even if we lost Carl in Cape Town and then Kwagga and Sebello after Wellington, Sydney, and then bring new guys in and still keep the momentum and the consistency, I think speaks a lot of the system we have and a healthy system we have with the academy, Shuzi and Paulie going out, scouting those players, get them in, them coach the fundamentals of sevens, and when they get to our system in the seniors, they got a good base of seven skills already, and we can just take them further from there. So I think that rollover system, like what Carl said, I think is really working for us at this stage, and we get guys in that pick up the flag and keep running with it. When somebody gets off the field, another guy go on and he look after the system. And I think that's what's so good about this team. And we always talk about the system, we always talk about the culture, and I think you can never build a team or a system on an individual. It's always going to be the system and the whole team, so that the next guy coming in can just take that system a step further.
Philip, for you, I suppose many of us might assume, if we've watched sevens over the years, that you're looking at a top 3, top 4, 5 in the game in terms of seedings. You know, the Blitzboks always up there, Fiji, New Zealand, and in time England, of course. The way the sport's growing, though, and the rapid growth of it, do you feel that we, in future, are looking at a top 10, top 15? I mean, you referenced Portugal earlier being a bogey side, you know, the way Kenya have come through, and the USA, other countries as well. Is the sport growing so rapidly that, you know, it could be one of the most competitive kind of top sports out there?
Yes, definitely. I believe so. I think, especially if you look back over the last couple of seasons, in the past, it was always the South Africa or New Zealand or Fiji or England that will win the majority of the tournaments. But the last couple of seasons, teams like USA managed to win a tournament, Scotland managed to win 1 or 2 tournaments, even Canada and Kenya won tournaments. So I think countries like that put a lot of emphasis on sevens because they think they can compete on the sevens code and not necessarily have the ability to compete in 15-man. And then also, when it being announced that for the next 2 Olympics, sevens will be part of the Olympic Games, people will put some money in. People will focus more on that code because a country like America, they pride themselves in the Olympic Games, and for them, Olympic Games and a medal at the Olympic Games is everything. So I can see the sport growing tremendously. And whenever we have a jersey presentation, Coach Neil always say, listen, that's not your jersey. You're only borrowing that jersey for this tournament. And Coach Neil Powell might go, me and Carl might go, everybody might leave the system, but Springbok Sevens will live forever. And that's the mentality of the guys. They want to leave the Springbok Sevens brand and that jersey in a better space, and I think that's a reason for our success because everybody wants to leave a legacy in that number.
This podcast series, The Power of Sport, focuses through storytelling on the enormous positive effects and change a calling in sport at any level can make. In the build-up to the Laureus World Sports Awards, people from around the world have been able to vote on a variety of unique, inspiring sporting moments that encapsulate that exact essence. In the final installment of that process, 2 entries came with a distinctly South African flavor. Firstly, it's the longest hole. Previous guests of this program, as Adam Ralston, Ron Rutland, and adopted pooch Yubi, trekked over 80 days through Mongolia, playing a single hole of golf, an absolutely incredible feat. While the other defies belief in many respects. World long jump champion and the Olympic silver medalist Luvo Manyonga is a young man who grew up just outside of Cape Town, but who was a crystal meth addict before realizing his talent in a remarkable turnaround that's taken him to the top of his sport. A man with the goal to break and then set one of world sport's most improbable records. Here he is speaking to me while I was covering the Olympic Games in Rio the morning after he won silver.
It was like walking dead. Like I was almost dead. But now I'm alive and I'm grateful of that. And I don't think of looking back there, bro, because I don't think you want to go see what I was before. I always pray to God to take me out of that because I couldn't take care of myself because I always tried to make it myself, but I couldn't. But in the grace of God, He helped me out from that. I always told my friend, if you can ask one of my friends from Cape Town, they will tell you the same story, that I always believe that I'm going to get a gold medal or a medal from Olympics. The day before yesterday, I told one of my friends, I'm going to go collect what I came here to get. I would like to tell the South African kid and youngsters out there, they must just look up to me as a living example and believe to themselves that they can be whatever they want to be in life.
Well, to vote for Manyonga, the longest hole, or indeed any of the other sporting moments of the year, you can go to sport24.co.za and follow the prompts. So get voting. That brings us to the end of episode 8, and a big thank you to you for downloading, and listening. And please do ensure that you subscribe and share this with your friends. Remember, you can find us on Omni Radio and iTunes, and you can interact with us via our posts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. In our next episode, we'll be telling you about the inspiring members of the Laureus Youth Empowerment Through Sport program, YES, who graduates at a special ceremony in East London. Team Dimension Data for Qhubeka formally introduced their squad for 2018. They do a special bike handover near the Qhubeka assembly plant at Nederburg, and they travel to Robben Island for a special team building session in a simply unforgettable experience. And our next Blitz guest is one not to be missed. Absolutely. Trust me on that score. Well, thank you for listening, and we look forward to being with you soon again. From myself, Smyth, and the Parasport production team, until next time, cheers.